Diana was used to hard physical labor from early childhood, and thus she never shied away from work. Moreover, even when she was still in high school, she helped her mother clean the offices of various firms and enterprises. Charlotte Taylor was ashamed of this, but she couldn't do anything about it. Her fiancé broke up with her as soon as he found out that she was pregnant. The man didn't only never visit Charlotte when she was pregnant, but he also didn't deign to come meet his own daughter. Diana didn't know any of this, and until a certain age, she could only speculate about the true reasons behind her mother and father's separations. As fate would have it, Charlotte couldn't rely on anyone's help and was forced to raise her daughter all alone. From a young age, Diana lived in hopeless poverty, up until her adulthood. Her mother worked as a cleaner, barely making enough money to provide for basic needs. "Just don't make the same mistakes I made, dear. Continue your education and don't rush into marriage," Mrs. Taylor would say. She understood that her daughter needed to make a name for herself, so she wouldn't end up standing next to her mother with a mop in her hands. Diana felt her mother's support and involvement, so she tried her best not to disappoint her and did everything as her mother wished. Diana decided to pursue a career in economics and got accepted into a local college on her first try. Now that everything was in her hands, Diana could start turning her plans into reality. However, as is often the case, fate intervened in the life of the young student. It all began when Charlotte Taylor's annual medical examination revealed signs of cancer. To say that the woman was shocked would be an understatement. Charlotte refused to believe the doctor's words until she saw the results of her tests, at which she realized it was pure truth. Tears welled up in her eyes, but they brought her no relief. The family couldn't afford treatment, and Charlotte had no hope of receiving any pro bono treatment either. The woman couldn't afford to quit her job, although she did refuse the number of clients. Diana had just finished her first year of college and was getting ready for the break. Charlotte did her best to hide her illness from her daughter, not wanting to make her already difficult life even harder. But when Diana learned about her mother's diagnosis, she completely refused to go on any kind of vacation and started searching for a job. "You don't have to do this, dear. Don't ruin your life. I've had my time," Charlotte said in a trembling voice. But there was no changing Diana's mind. "No, Mom, don't even think about it. You'll definitely get better. I know it." Charlotte shook her head sadly. To be honest, she didn't believe that treatment would yield any results anyway. But Diana was filled with optimism. And that's where her first disappointment awaited her. No one wanted to hire a young woman without proper qualifications and experience. Diana had to go into dozens of offices and firms before she got an offer from a reputable cleaning agency with an impressive client base. Since Diana had already helped her mother with her cleaning jobs as a child, she was familiar with the line of work. Getting assignments from the senior manager, she could be cleaning offices in the morning, washing the floors in the home of a wealthy businessman during the day, and cleaning a production area in the evening. Diana loved the variety of workplaces and tasks since she enjoyed feeling free in all aspects of her life. One day, as she was returning to the cleaning agency's office after completing yet another assignment, Diana found herself in a very interesting situation that would change her life completely. The weather was damp and rainy, and the city's residents, wrapped in coats, hurried to get to the warmth and comfort of their homes. Just as Diana was about to cross the street, a huge SUV sped by, splashing her with mud from head to toe. Taken by surprise, she stood frozen, unable to utter a single word. Her light gray coat was completely covered in dirt. It would be sheer madness to go to the office in such a state, and Diana understood that better than anyone else. The most interesting part was that the man who splashed her with dirt didn't just drive away. Not only did he splatter Diana with mud, but he backed up until he was next to her again. What is he doing? Is he trying to humiliate me even more? Diana thought, having a hard time keeping her emotions in check. Meanwhile, the car door swung open and a friendly-looking man in his 20s appeared in front of Diana. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. This is a new car. My father just gave it to me today, so I decided to see what it was capable of. So I sped up." Diana frowned. "Well, that's a great idea, no doubt. Couldn't you have done it outside the city?" The driver looked embarrassed. His face showed that he genuinely regretted his actions and was eager to make up for them as soon as possible. "My name is Jacob. If you don't mind, I'd like to compensate for the damage and buy you a new coat," the young man offered. Diana was taken aback. The young man's demeanor and his confidence definitely caught her off guard. At that moment, she most wanted to wipe the smugness off the rich man's face, seeing as he was ready to throw money around that easily. On the other hand, her initial anger had already subsided. Moreover, Jacob seemed to be sincere and didn't intend to demean or mock her. "A new coat is a bit much. I'm fine with what I have now, but you could pay for dry cleaning," Diana said, letting go of her anger. Jacob smiled and nodded in agreement. He seemed satisfied with this peaceful resolution, especially considering that he also got to meet a beautiful young woman. Soon, Diana and Jacob were sitting in a cozy cafe, indulging in delicious pastries that were the establishment's signature dish. As it turned out later, Jacob was the son of an influential businessman, or rather, a stepson. Jacob's mother had passed away 7 years ago, having married a man named Dennis several years before that. The age difference between him and Jacob was only 12 years, which inevitably affected the relationship between father and stepson. Jacob's mother was older than her second husband, but Dennis didn't see this as an obstacle to a strong and harmonious relationship. As Diana listened to Jacob's story, she found herself suspiciously noting that she enjoyed this young man's company. And it had nothing to do with money, nothing at all. Most likely, this mutual sympathy had developed on a subconscious level, signaling to the young people that there was definitely some chemistry between them. As they were saying their goodbyes, Jacob suggested seeing each other again, and Diana agreed. She felt like she wasn't herself, but love does that to people. It comes suddenly, as if out of nowhere, robbing a person of the ability to think rationally. "Mom, guess what? I met a very nice young man. His name is Jacob, and his stepfather is some influential businessman," Diana shared over dinner. Charlotte looked over at her daughter with concern. Based on her life experience, she knew that rich people rarely got along with those who didn't have as much money. Money attracts money. Everyone knew this simple truth, and Charlotte Taylor confirmed it long ago. But she refrained from directly telling her daughter any of it, especially since Diana hadn't told Jacob that she worked as a cleaner. Life will sort things out on its own. I hope Diana doesn't get hurt in this relationship, Charlotte thought to herself, trying not to ruin Diana's mood for no good reason. Throughout the next day, Diana eagerly anticipated the evening, eager to have a chance to see Jacob again. This time, Jacob invited her on a date to one of the best restaurants in the city. Diana had never been to such a place before, so as soon as she stepped inside, she froze in hesitation. "Let's go. I took care of everything and booked up a table. I've pre-ordered a little of everything. Caesar salad, poached eggs, carbonara, and risotto," Jacob said with a proud look. As he mentioned the names of unfamiliar dishes, Diana tensed up noticeably. She still felt uncomfortable about Jacob not knowing how she earned her living. Over a glass of chilled champagne, the conversation flowed in the right direction, creating a sense of comfort and coziness between the young people. Jacob talked so much about himself that Diana couldn't resist and told him about her occupation. At first, Jacob thought that he'd misheard her. His surprise was so genuine that Diana immediately realized she shouldn't have shared that information about herself. "What? You're a cleaner? As in you clean offices? Mop the floors? Are you out of your mind? Why did you think I'd date a beggar like you? My friends would never stop laughing at me," the man exclaimed angrily. Tears welled up in Diana's eyes and her lips started trembling treacherously. In the meantime, Jacob had launched into an offensive. "You're paying for this dinner yourself. I'm not about to spend this kind of money on some cleaner." Only then did Diana understand what had happened. There were so many dishes on the table that she wouldn't be able to pay for them even in a month. But Jacob quickly found a way out of the situation, suggesting that Diana work off her debt as a cleaner. "It's nothing new for you. I'm sure you'll manage. I wouldn't advise trying to hide from me. It won't be a problem to find out where you live." Diana got up from the table and started crying openly. She felt so disgusted, as if she had just been stepped on. It was after that memorable evening with the awful date that Diana started cleaning the floors at the restaurant. As it turned out later, Jacob intentionally didn't tell her that the restaurant actually belonged to his stepfather, Dennis. Jacob didn't get along well with him, which made their relationship look more like a cat and dog friendship. By and large, Diana didn't really have to repay the debt, but her conscience and an exaggerated sense of responsibility wouldn't allow her to do so. She intentionally didn't tell her mother about the incident at the restaurant, wanting to spare her emotional balance. It was only when she was left alone that the young woman let her bitter tears flow. A month flew by, during which there wasn't a single day when Diana didn't mop the floors at the restaurant. The staff felt sorry for her, and the chef even tried to feed her after her shift. One day, the real owner of the restaurant, Dennis Green, came into the staff room. As fate would have it, the businessman was away on a long business trip and left his stepson in charge of the restaurant in the meantime. The owner immediately noticed that Jacob lacked tact and acted like he ruled the universe. Seeing Diana in the staff room, Dennis discreetly called the administrator over. "John, who do we have working here? I don't think this young lady was working for us when I left. Or am I mistaken?" The administrator hesitated, then led the owner aside and quickly briefed him on the latest news. As Dennis's expression changed, it seemed clear that he found Jacob's managerial skills simply appalling. That evening, Diana was relieved of paying off her supposed debt. Moreover, Dennis paid her triple for each day she worked at the restaurant. Despite being 40 years old, Dennis looked much younger. Jacob disliked his stepfather and considered him a gold digger, eyeing his mother's wealth. But that wasn't the case. Dennis didn't just inherit his late wife's business, but also took it to a whole new level, increasing the family's assets almost threefold. After the way Jacob treated Diana, Dennis decided to punish him and cut him off. At first, Jacob thought it was a joke, but when he saw a zero balance in his bank account, he got furious. However, this wasn't even the most surprising thing. It was the fact that after the incident at the restaurant, Dennis started courting Diana. The age difference between them seemed insignificant, which pleased them both. Only then did Diana understand what true feelings and care from a loving person were like. 6 months later, the couple got married, celebrating their union with a wedding that amazed many with their grandeur. By that time, Diana's mother, with the help of her son-in-law, had undergone treatment at one of the best clinics in the country and achieved stable remission, which meant that she had a high chance of making a complete recovery. As for Jacob, after he lost everything, he reevaluated his relationship with his stepfather and apologized to Diana. Now, Jacob manages the very same restaurant where he used to take his dates. As for Dennis and Diana, they are getting ready to become parents. After the ultrasound revealed that they were twins, the newlyweds' happiness doubled, giving them hope for a long and happy life together.